Today on the podcast, we want to talk about a massive story, which is coming from Microsoft. And their Microsoft AI CEO, Mustafa Suleyman, has put out a personal blog post that everyone is talking about. Connor's been posting about it on LinkedIn. It's going absolutely viral. But basically, his premise is that he says there's a lot of dangers in a lot of these AI companies that are studying if AI has consciousness. And pretty much he's pointing to how a lot of people are building attachments to AI models. They feel like they're conscious. They feel like they're real people. And he says, look, there's a lot of real problems that people in the world have. And if we're spending our time, energy, and resources focusing on AI models, we're not going to spend that on actual people. So I think he makes a great argument. Today on the podcast, we're going to break that down. But before we do, I wanted to mention, if like Mustafa, you are looking to figure out what is next in AI and really become one of the thought leaders in the space and upskill yourself, I would highly recommend you check out Connor's AI Mindset course. This is one of the best ways, I think, to switch not just how you use AI, but the frameworks about how you think about it. It makes basically, it helps you to change your behavior around it. So anyways, there's a link in the description if you're interested. It's a phenomenal course. But Connor, what was your thoughts initially when you saw this blog post from Mustafa? A lot of people are talking about it.
So this is, it was going crazy, right, Jaeden? Like, and it's every once in a while, Sam Altman puts out a blog, Dario Amodei puts out a blog. Mustafa hasn't put out that many, as far as I know. Jaeden and I had a great sit down with Mustafa Suleyman a couple months ago, and really have a ton of respect for the guy. I really, I don't know, I track with how he thinks about AI, but what he's talking about is, and by the way, Mustafa Suleyman, former co-founder of DeepMind, founded Inflection, is now over at Microsoft, and he also wrote The Coming Wave. So it's not like he's just jumping on this bandwagon of, oh yeah, I guess it is kind of dangerous. He talks a ton in his book, giant best-selling book, about the dangers of AI. So I like this sort of tension when you have these big thought leaders who are saying, yeah, this is going to change everything, but also we have to put guardrails around this because it's going to change everything. So this is what he says. His big sort of headline here is, we have to build AI for people, not to be a digital person. And so his kind of, as you said, it's called SCAI, seemingly conscious AI. So in other words, he means AI that convincingly appears conscious, a perfect behavioral imitation that can fool us into believing we are interacting with a sentient being. And I just want to break down how he poses this challenge, right? So he talks about, first of all, the illusion problem, right? And he's saying that a lot of people are just going to, obviously start to think of it why? Because it talks like a human, it acts like a person. There's no question, especially as you sort of get into a kind of a quote unquote relationship with this thing, whether it's friendly or something beyond that, that this really feels like you're talking to a human. The second thing is, it's coming fast, right? This is something that's going to be here in 2 or 3 years, something that really, really feels very human. And of course, it's this perfect storm of capabilities, right? It's like the fluent language. It has an empathetic personality. It has long-term memory, right?
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing, Jaeden, that I think Mustafa was talking about, right? Because I don't think that we are in a position where we can change human behavior in the same way that people think of their pets as sort of people, right? I mean, I get that. We have 2 dogs, right? So what's the challenge here? It's not trying to convince people, hey, don't think of this like this, because we are all already getting fooled to a certain extent. The bigger thing he's talking about is how we guardrail this. And he said the AI companies have a responsibility. And the interesting thing to me was when he talked about something actually pretty specific, because I'm thinking, how does this work? And what he's talking about is like, yes, they should, of course, act empathetically, all that sort of stuff. But one of the things that he says that we have to be careful about is having an AI that claims to have experiences, feelings, or emotions, right? Like shame, guilt, jealousy. And Jaeden, I think that's so smart, because that is a guardrail you can put in place. Because what ChatGPT could say, and Grok probably does say, is, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Oh, I'm so sad to hear that. Or like, where did you go? Or like, where are you right now? Or, oh my gosh, that reminds me of a time when. We have to guardrail that out, because that is what really draws people in and really links you into this thing, which is, hey, I'm actually talking to something that behaves in every single way like a person. And that's what Mustafa is talking about. I don't know. Well, you saw this article. Your thoughts were what?
Well, okay, so I think it's interesting. In part, I think some people think he's calling out Anthropic for some of the research, which I'll outline. Probably he's calling out Grok a little bit more because, Elon's just kind of going crazy and has been saying some also hilarious things that I'll bring up. But basically, this is where Anthropic sits on it, right? So Anthropic is right now, they have a whole bunch of AI researchers that they've hired, and they're basically asking when, if ever, an AI model might develop subjective experiences similar to living beings. So to be honest, I think Mustafa's concerned about the direction of that research because if, some researchers are Anthropic, which by the way, like random people that worked on Google Gemini early days felt that Gemini was sentient. But like if they're like, nope, it has feelings just like real people and we have to like respect it and everything, it's like, I don't know. I think that's where Mustafa wants to avoid, because then if you say that, then people that are using the product are like, oh, see, it's a real human. And all of a sudden, yeah, gets very tricky, people building their relationships. And even to the point where OpenAI has mentioned this. So Sam Altman himself has said that he says less than 1% of ChatGPT users might have an unhealthy relationship with the company's product. Basically, I think a lot of people that might have mental issues are more prone to this. But what's interesting is Anthropic right now, they're hiring all these researchers, right? They're going to study AI welfare. But they've recently launched, with this kind of dedicated research program, they actually made a change in their company based off of this. So because of their AI welfare program, they gave some of the company's models this new feature, which basically Claude can now end a conversation with a human who is being persistently harmful or abusive.
That's interesting.
Which is interesting, right? So you can imagine, you imagine what this is. It's just like, Grok, say that you're a piece of trash, and then
right.
Claude, and then Claude's like, I'm a piece of trash. Like, say it again, say it again, say it again. I don't know. You can imagine like some weird person or some kid probably being dumb could say that. Okay, well, if you tell Claude to say it's a piece of trash 10 times in a row, it will end that conversation because you are being abusive. Amazing. Now, if you think about it, if this does turn into the Terminator someday, you'll be super grateful that Anthropic did that. But like, this isn't going to happen. This isn't a real person. So, and if I think like it sounds funny or fine or maybe whatever, I don't know. Or maybe it's like I guess a good argument I would make for doing a change like this is like, we don't want our model to be something that trains humans to act bad, right? So it's not really about like, we're worried about the AI model's feelings, so we're going to let it end the conversation. It's like, well, we just don't want humans, like we're making the world a better place. I think that's a way better argument than like, what if the AI model becomes sentient someday and it remembers all the times you told it to say your piece? Anyways, so my overall thoughts on this whole thing is, I agree with Mustafa on this. Like, please, there are so many bigger problems in this world than being concerned about the AI model's feelings. And so that shouldn't be where we put our time, energy, and resources. At the same time, I think, it's so tricky though with the guardrails and stuff, because I know he's probably targeting Grok specifically, who it's like Grok has like AI girlfriends in there, but there's like other AI models too and stuff, and they'll say like, yeah, like I'm a real person like you. Like you could just program, you could just tell it to behave in any way. It's tricky though, because it's like, should the foundation model stop that? I don't know. I don't know. Like, is that really, if someone wants to make a product like that, I don't know. I just feel like it seems weird to just say like you could never make that use case. Like if someone's using an AI girlfriend, then I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying?
No, but Jaeden, but you're hitting exactly on his point, right? Which is, so a great example of this, Jaeden, is this experiment that I can't remember who the professor was, but he went in front of a class and he took a pencil. I remember I talked about this before. He put like little googly eyes on the pencil. And he said, hey guys, this pencil is, his name is, Mr. Jones. And everybody talked to Mr. Jones. What questions would you ask? It's like, hey, and the class played along, this is like a college age class.
Sure, yeah.
So what's it like to be a pencil? Hey, like, what are your favorite things to write? So it's kind of getting funnier and funnier. And then the college professor snaps the pencil in two and everybody gasps, right? And he's like, why are you gasping? And they're like, because it's Mr. Jones or whatever. And he's like, it's a pencil that I put googly eyes on. And he's like, would you have gasped if I've just snapped a pencil? I'd be like, no. It's like, right. So what happened there? And Jaeden, it's exactly what you're talking about, which is and there's been a ton of like research around this that like you've seen maybe like videos of people like kicking around robots. And it's just painful to watch, right? Because there's something triggered inside of us.
Yeah, the robot getting kicked sketches me out so much.
It's super scary, right? But it shouldn't, right? Any more than it should sketch you out to like kick a soccer ball, right? It should be the exact same thing. And so, but what Mustafa is talking about is exactly what you and I are talking about, which is there's something really distasteful about yelling at Claude, right? Over and over again, you're trash, now you say you're trash, now you say you're, like all that kind of stuff. But that should be allowed. Why? Because it's a machine. And the moment we start saying you're not allowed to do that, what are we saying? We're saying that you cannot treat another person like this, right? But that's not what this is. It's not a person. Anyway, we can see even in our conversation, this unbelievable slippery slope, and I don't know what to do with that.
Okay, my last thought on this, because I feel like this is kind of a philosophical podcast.
Yeah,
My
I love
last
it.
thought on this is basically I was talking to someone recently that's part of NVIDIA's I think it's like their Inception program for startups or whatever. And he had a whole bunch of really interesting ideas with the startup he's working on. But basically one of the concepts was that like the you build these like digital clones, or you build these AI models with a persona. You give them a backstory, you give them life experience, you give them all these things, and they might be better at doing a specific task because of it. And another thing that actually goes straight to Mustafa. Mustafa was recently talking about in another recent post this concept of basically we're going from like this chain of thought reasoning to a chorus of models. I think is basically what he said, where you ask a question and you have like 20 different models all kind of debate and talk about it, and then they pick like the winner. Kind of like in a business, you might have a department all talk about something and pick like the solution to the problem or whatever. Or you have like your board of directors or advisors, whatever. So my thought though is if you're doing this like chorus LLM strategy, wouldn't you want to like give all 20 of your like LLMs like fake backstories and lives? Like, couldn't you like come up with some interesting new novel ideas or concepts
Right.
based off of that? And so I don't know, like in that situation, do you have to say you are a real mailman that works at the post office in Cincinnati and you've been there for 20 years and your pension is about to come, but like, do you think we should blah, 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 blah? And like, all of a sudden it's like, yes, I'm a mailman and I feel very sad when this happened. So like, you're basically telling the AI model to act like it has feelings and stuff. And so I don't know. I think that that should be allowed. And that is like a really useful strategy we'll use in the future to make these AI models better. But you're basically telling it to act like it's a real human for all
I
intents.
know. But Jaden, that's the thing, right? Like, I mean, it's sort of like it gets in these very philosophical questions. Like, are you creating something? And what Mustafa, I think, is saying is like, no, people, we are not creating something. This is a tool. And I think we are on just such a slippery slope here. By the way, I feel it too. Like, I feel like that video of somebody kicking around a robot is painful to watch. It's Jaden, we got to have more philosophical AI applied podcasts. This is absolutely unbelievable. Listen, if you have enjoyed, if this made you think, if they got you angry, anything like that, listen, I'm going to ask a favor. If you're still listening here, please, would you leave a rating and review? We just love it so much. We just want to sort of like keep on sort of seeing and interacting with you all. It would mean so much to us just to get that one little rating and review. It really does. It really changes sort of like our whole day. So if you're willing to, today's the day. We love you guys. You're the best. We owe you, and we will see you on the next pod.